Okay, so you know how we love to take a deep dive into the stuff you guys are really curious about? Well, this time we're tackling a book that's been on a lot of people's minds, especially when it comes to money.
Yeah, this one's a biggie.
It is. We're diving into Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki.
A classic.
It really is. I mean, over 32 million copies sold. It spent like 6 years on the New York Times bestseller list. Even Oprah's a fan. So.
You know, it's got to have something going for it when Oprah's on board.
Exactly. And the thing is, we don't just want to like rehash the whole book for you, right?
Right.
We want to like really unpack what makes it tick.
Yeah.
What are the big ideas about money that Kiyosaki's trying to get across? And how could those ideas, maybe change how you think about your own finances?
Yeah. And the cool thing is the listener sent over some sources that break down the book into 6 key principles. So those are going to be our guideposts today.
Perfect. Okay. So let's jump right in. When I came here, one of the things that makes this book so unique is the whole poor dad versus rich dad thing, right?
Oh.
These two figures, they're based on people in Kiyosaki's own life, and they have totally opposite ways of thinking about money and work.
Mm-hmm.
Our source actually pulls out some quotes that show this contrast really well, and it's kind of startling.
Oh, yeah. Lay it on me.
Okay, so like the poor dad says, the love of money is the root of all evil.
Okay. Standard kind of thinking. Right.
Right, but then the rich dad flips it and says, the lack of money is the root of all evil.
Whoa. Okay. So right away, we're seeing money in a whole new light.
Totally.
Oh.
It makes you think like, what do I actually believe about money deep down? You know?
Yeah, for sure. And it's not just about their philosophy, it's how they approach challenges too.
Right.
So you've got the poor dad saying, I can't afford it. Like that's the end of the story.
Yeah, just shutting it down.
Exactly. And then the rich dad comes in with, how can I afford it?
It's like a totally different energy.
Totally. It's not accepting limitations. It's like problem-solving mode activated.
It's just a tiny tweak in the words, but it could lead to massive changes.
Couldn't agree more. There are a couple other quotes that highlight this difference too.
Oh yeah, what else?
Well, there's the poor dad saying, money doesn't matter. And the rich dad saying, money is power.
Okay, so one is like downplaying the role of money, and the other is acknowledging its impact.
Exactly. The rich dad recognizes that money, well, it can open doors and create opportunities.
And this next contrast, this one really gets to the heart of the book's message.
Hit me.
The poor dad says, study hard so you can find a good company to work for.
Classic advice, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
But the rich dad says, study hard so you can find a good company to buy.
Ooh, there it is. That shift from employee to owner.
Exactly. So what's so important about seeing things from that owner's perspective?
Well, it really challenges how we traditionally think about careers and financial security, right?
Right.
It suggests that real financial independence, it might not just be about getting a good job, but about understanding how businesses work and maybe even owning a piece of the pie.
So it's about more than just climbing the corporate ladder?
It's about looking at the whole economic landscape from a different angle.
I like that. Okay, so this leads us to the first core principle from the book. The rich do not work for money.
Yeah, that one always raises eyebrows.
Right. On the surface, it sounds a little crazy.
It does. But what Kiyosaki's really getting at is understanding and escaping this thing he calls the rat race.
Okay, break that down for me.
So the rat race is this cycle you get stuck in, working for a paycheck, needing that paycheck to pay your bills, then being afraid of losing your job and wanting more stuff, so you need more money, and it just keeps going.
It's like you're running on a treadmill, but not actually getting anywhere.
Exactly. You work harder and harder, but never really achieve financial freedom.
Yeah, I think a lot of people can relate to that feeling of always being busy, but not really building anything lasting.
Totally. And our source points out that this whole cycle is driven by fear and greed.
So how do those emotions keep people trapped?
Well, the fear of not having enough money to cover your expenses, that anxiety of financial insecurity, it's a powerful motivator to cling to a job even if you hate it.
Makes sense.
And then there's greed, or maybe it's more like this desire for a better lifestyle, a bigger house, a fancy car. Whatever it is, it often leads to more spending, which means you're even more dependent on that paycheck.
Sounds like you're constantly chasing something, but never quite catching it.
Right. And the book emphasizes the importance of, being aware of your thoughts and how you react to money stuff.
Okay, yeah, like instead of just emotionally demanding a raise because you feel like you deserve it.
Which we've all been there.
Oh, totally. The book says, try asking yourself, is there something I'm missing here?
I love that question.
Me too. How does that help break free from the rat race?
Well, it shifts you from just reacting to actually thinking critically. Instead of just wanting a quick fix, like more money for the same work, it makes you step back and think, hey, are there some fundamental things wrong with my approach to money? Or are there other ways to make money that I'm not seeing?
So it's about getting curious and looking for a deeper understanding.
Exactly. And there's a story in the book about how Kiyosaki and his friend ran a comic book library as kids.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Even back then, they were creating a system that made money without them having to constantly work at it.
So even as kids, they were thinking about passive income.
Exactly. It's a simple example, but it shows that this mindset of creating income streams outside of a regular job, it can start early.
That's really cool. All right, let's move on to the second principle. Financial literacy is necessary.
Fundamental stuff.
It sounds obvious, right? But the book argues that tons of people, even those who are successful in their careers, they don't really get how money works.
Yeah, it's more common than you think. So what's the absolute most important thing about financial literacy according to Rich Dad, Poor Dad?
The bedrock of it all is being able to tell the difference between an asset and a liability.
Which seems simple, but it's where a lot of people get tripped up.
So can you define those for us?
Absolutely. Kiyosaki says an asset is something that puts money in your pocket,
Okay,
and a liability is something that takes money out.
got it. And I think a lot of people might be surprised to hear that their house could actually be a liability.
Yeah, that's a big one that people often debate.
Walk us through that.
Okay, so while your house might increase in value over time, it usually comes with a lot of expenses, right?
Mortgage payments, property taxes, insurance upkeep.
Exactly. And until you sell it or it starts generating income, like if you rent out a room or something, all those costs are coming out of your pocket.
So in that sense, it's a liability, at least for a while.
Right. Kiyosaki acknowledges that owning a home can have emotional value and all that, but he stresses that it's crucial to understand the financial reality, especially when you're trying to build wealth early on.
Interesting. So it's not as straightforward as we might think.
Not at all. And this leads to a really powerful statement from the book. The rich buy assets, the poor have expenses, and the middle class buy liabilities thinking they are assets.
Wow. Okay, that's pretty direct.
It is, but it sums up this principle perfectly. The wealthy focus on things that generate income. The poor are just trying to cover their basic costs. And the middle class, well, they often end up with things that look like success, but are actually draining their finances.
Like fancy cars or huge mortgages?
Exactly. So financial literacy, it's not just about making a lot of money. It's about understanding how money flows and making smart decisions about what you buy and why.
All right, let's move on to the third principle. Mind your own business.
Now, this doesn't mean being nosy, right?
Nope. This one's all about finances. What's the financial meaning here?
It's about focusing on building your own set of income-generating assets. It's about working towards financial independence rather than just focusing on your job or the company you work for.
So it's like having your own side hustle, but with assets.
Kind of.
Mm-hmm.
The book uses Ray Kroc, the guy behind McDonald's, as an example.
Oh, yeah. What about him?
Well, his job was franchising and selling burgers, but Kiyosaki argues that his real business was real estate.
You mean owning the land under those McDonald's?
Exactly. What does that tell us about minding your own business?
It's like saying your job might pay the bills, but real wealth comes from creating or buying assets that make money even when you're not working.
Right. So your business, in this sense, is your collection of assets.
Got it. Okay, let's skip ahead to the fifth principle because this one sounds super interesting. The rich invent money.
Ooh, that's a good one. What do you think that means?
It makes me think of like being really creative and finding new ways to make money that other people haven't thought of.
You're on the right track. Kiyosaki is saying that money isn't real in the sense that it's a human invention, a tool we use.
Mm-hmm.
The real asset is your mind, your ability to think critically and spot opportunities.
But it's not about the money itself. It's about how you use your brain to create wealth.
Exactly. And the book tells this story about Alexander Graham Bell, the guy who invented the telephone.
Oh, yeah. I think I know this one.
He tried to sell his patent to Western Union, but they didn't see the value in it.
They totally missed out.
Right. Bell had this vision, this invention that Western Union completely overlooked.
Well, that's like inventing money, seeing and acting on opportunities that other people don't get.
Precisely. It's about recognizing potential where others see nothing. And our source also mentions that information is a kind of wealth these days.
That's so true. Yeah. How does that tie into inventing money?
Well, think about it. In the age of information, people who understand finance and can analyze data, they can spot needs and problems that other people miss.
And then they can come up with solutions and build businesses or make smart investments.
Exactly. So inventing money, it's about using your financial smarts and your creativity to turn knowledge and opportunities into income-generating assets.
And often that involves taking risks, right?
Calculated risks, absolutely. All right, let's wrap up with the sixth principle, work to learn.
This doesn't mean staying in a dead-end job just for the experience, though, right?
No, it's about prioritizing learning new skills, especially when it comes to money.
So, like, what kinds of skills are we talking about?
Kiyosaki talks about financial IQ, which is basically a combo of understanding accounting, investing markets, and the law.
Okay, so it's about being well-rounded when it comes to finances.
Right. His poor dad believed in specializing in one field, but his rich dad said it's better to know a little about a lot.
Interesting. So it's about expanding your skill set in areas that can really pay off financially down the road.
Exactly. Now, the source also mentions that even people who get these principles, they might still struggle with money.
Why is that?
Well, they might have fear of losing money, or they're cynical or lazy, or they have bad financial habits.
So it's not just about the knowledge. It's about your mindset and your behavior, too.
I got it. Fear can stop you from taking risks. Cynicism can blind you to good opportunities. Laziness can prevent you from putting in the work, and bad habits like spending too much or not saving enough can sabotage your efforts.
So even if you know what to do, you still have to overcome those internal obstacles.
Exactly. And the key takeaway here is that investing in your financial education is way more valuable in the long run than just trying to make a slightly bigger salary in a job that isn't teaching you anything useful.
And the book talks about important skills like managing cash flow, time, and people, as well as being good at communicating and selling.
Yep. These are skills that not only help you earn more, but also manage your money better, build businesses, and make smart investment decisions.
So it's not just about working hard, it's about working smart.
Right. And the final point of this principle is the importance of taking action. Seek out new ideas, find mentors, and even look at economic downturns as chances to buy low.
So it's about having a proactive mindset and not being afraid to jump in.
Exactly. Kiyosaki reminds us that money is really just an idea. And building financial IQ is about shifting your thinking and your actions when it comes to money.
Right. So to sum it all up for our amazing listener, today's deep dive into Rich Dad, Poor Dad really highlights how important financial education is.
For sure.
It's about understanding what truly makes an asset and what's actually a liability.
Key distinction.
It's about getting out of that rat race
Yeah.
and building assets that generate income, whether through your own business or smart investments.
And not being afraid to think differently and take some calculated risks.
Absolutely. It's about having a growth mindset and always being open to learning more about money.
It's about empowering yourself with knowledge and shifting from just working for money to making money work for you.
Love that. Okay, so as you're thinking about all this, we want to leave you with one final thought.
Hit us with it.
We've covered a lot today. Financial education, assets, and liabilities, escaping the rat race, entrepreneurship mindset, risk-taking. Which of these areas really speaks to you right now? What's one thing, even a small thing, that you could do this week to explore or apply these ideas in your own life?
Great question. And remember, building financial literacy and reaching your financial goals. It's a journey. It takes time and effort, but it's so worth it.
Couldn't agree more. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.
See ya.